Roth, and I am the program coordinator for the Sculpture Studies building. And a little over a year ago, we got a phone call from Dartmouth asking if we had room for a bench renter who was studying the transition and translation of visual to sound. And it intrigued me. I have watched the work of this artist develop, grow, change, and it certainly has danced, made music on its own if you're in the building late at night. It has invited the elementals into it. It has transformed and translated itself over and over again. She has inspired so many of the artists who have been working in the Sculpture Studies building in a wide variety of ways. From trying the techniques that she has brought to us, to finding within their own work the joy, the dance, the music, and the drama. So it has been a privilege to have Veronika Yadukha with us for this year, and we are very sorry to be sending her on her way, but we hope that she comes back very soon.
Thank you very much for this beautiful introduction. I'm really pleased to be here today and presenting my work to you. And I worry a little bit, so that's why I don't know if the necessity to use the mic. I think everybody can hear well from here, right?
Sometimes it's better for the recording.
Yeah? Okay. All right.
And it's louder.
1, 2, 3, okay. And it's also to this thing. All right. This is very official. Over here, an academic as well. Yes, my name is Veronika Yadukha, and I am a Transmedial translator. This is a very unusual field, I must say, because this is the work at the intersection of arts. Usually I work at the intersection of literature and ceramics, but also many different combinations, like theater, like literature and theater, literature and visual arts, literature and sounds. And actually, this path as a ceramicist began to me in 2021, I think, when I attended the studio of one Ukrainian artist in Kyiv and was considering ceramics as a hobby for myself because I really enjoyed that, but I never thought of myself as an artist. At the time, I was, and still is, an art curator of the Ukrainian NGO and translation festival called TRANSLATORIUM. This is a very niche but also a pretty famous festival in Ukraine, the only one that works with translation. So I was really dedicated to translation and to organizing different events for the community of people who work with literature in very different dimensions. And usually I would invite people to collaborate with me and I will initiate things, but other artists would do something for us or like with us for this huge project. But after the full-scale Russian invasion, my son and I had to leave Ukraine, and I didn't really know like where to go and what to do, how to be productive. And a friend of mine shared this program at Dartmouth, Comparative Literature program, saying that they are very open to different artistic initiatives. And I thought, well, I already had 4 diplomas, and I wasn't interested in like another education, even though like Dartmouth is a very pretty and famous place. But I was like, okay, maybe I should write a letter to the faculty asking about the specific idea that I had, that emerged when I was working in that studio in Kyiv with the artist. Together with her, we would listen to different podcasts and poetry. Specifically, we found out that both of us were interested in Richard Brotigan's poetry and prose, and we discussed that a lot. And while I was studying this with the artists, I thought, well, actually, it would be wonderful to think about poetry in ceramics, to try to translate poems of Brotigan into ceramics. But at the moment, I wasn't sure about myself. I was like, okay, maybe one day I'll grow enough as a professional and will dare to start this journey. But when I had to apply for the program at Dartmouth, I thought, okay, maybe this is the time actually when I can try. And I proposed this project that combined both the research of Richard Brotigan's era in poetry and prose, because counterculture in the US, the 60s and the 70s, the Beat generation, San Francisco Renaissance, with a mixture of very different interesting approaches to literature. And since I am also interested in Zen Buddhism and in that like Japanese aesthetics, more as a worldview, I thought like this is a perfect combination to try to think how poetry can be physically present, like how it can be both like very about minimalism and also the combination of very bizarre elements, or how can it be very like physical, because like poem is a very rhythmical structure. Like you have shape. When you read a poem, you feel the shape, you understand how it works, how it looks like even on the page. So it gives me the opportunity to create actually like from the starting point. And I applied, and they said, well, as long as you write research and use your art as a companion to the research, so we will accept you. And they all voted for me, and that's how it happened. Like the new story started for me. And yeah, I would say that it's a very big paradox in my life, because I would never move anywhere else from Ukraine. I never plan to, and I am willing to go back. But these 3 years in the US gave me the possibility to grow, to explore, and actually to become an artist. So again, I can add this to my regalia. Like I'm an art curator, I'm the co-founder of the NGO in Ukraine. I'm a Transmedial translator, and also I'm an artist. So today I'm gonna talk a little bit about translation and why it is important to me to say that everything that I do is about translation. And I will show you 2 recent projects of mine. And so translation from Latin, it means, it is called like translatio, which means to carry across or bring across. So basically what we are doing is in translation, we are trying to bring the meaning from one language into a different language, or different system, because in translation we have actually like 3 official types according to different classifications, and I can even read those to you. So the first one is interlingual translation or rewording. It's when you it's a kind of interpretation of verbal signs by means of other signs in the same language. For example, when you have a book for adults and you want to adapt it to kids, so like you are doing the rewording with the same language, let's say English, but for different group of people. So this is called the intralingual translation. Interlingual translation or translation proper, this is the most common translation. It's when we use 2 different languages like Ukrainian and English, like Chinese and Japanese, let's say. And we translate between these 2 languages. And intersemiotic translation or transmedial translation is an interpretation of verbal signs by means of non-verbal sign systems. So that's basically what my passion is, and that's how I think about preserving information. Because the main problem of translation is loss. So when we carry across things, we are losing lots of things like on the way. And this is the main issue for all translators in the world, how to preserve the meaning, how to preserve the form, how to preserve the style, the wording, etc., etc. And always we just have to face it that it is impossible. So like, translation is all about loss. But what is fascinating to me about transmedial translation is that it actually gives a different perspective through a very different medium. But maybe it is hard to say that it is like literal translation. However, we can see something else that like works as a joint piece of art to the original text. That's how I actually see translation as collaboration in general, and that's how I started to think about working with the bigger scale of work and translate bigger piece, poetic piece into ceramics. And this is my most current project called Rantau. This is a collaborative project together with my colleague at Dartmouth, South African poet Simon. And she's a very interesting person, and when I met her, I just realized how our very different experiences somehow are similar, because like both of us, we come from the third world cultures and countries. Both of us face different types of violence in our homeland. Both of us understand how this gap, this mental gap is present for us. Like when we are here in this area, this idyllic, very beautiful, very nice area with lots of opportunities, but also this area when we cannot really share who you are. You can tell stories and people build cognitive empathy, which is great. That's how people function. But in general, this is important. It is impossible to share experience for other people to fully understand that. So that's how we started our conversation through arts. And she wrote a poem about this conversation, about her experience here, about her experience in her homeland, and about contemplating my own experience too. And her poem is called "To Hug the Maple Tree." And I have a video with the poem. You will hear it, and Luta will read it herself. And you will see two mazes that I made here at the AVA workshop, and that are actually right now safely were delivered to Ukraine and will take part in the biggest event in Ukraine, the Book Arsenal, that is happening in Kyiv in the end of May. So I will show these works in Kyiv, in my home, and also I will have a caption over there saying that this work was made with the support of AVA. So I will take a picture and show you that AVA is present in Kyiv. Right now I will ask Sam to switch on this video, so we will watch it and then I will continue.
It's not that again. His eyes unable to meet mine.
Want me to try that? Yeah. Sorry, it's okay. Yeah.
Once a man wanted to me. Soft weight was confessed to the rape of his wife, as he was working on my skin. And he became to me different from the man who always, in the backyard of my family home, rolling the hosepipe around his head, his eyes unable to meet mine. I imagined that I had to be. The peaceful, the warm and simple life became. When the men seated at the back of the contractor's balcony, and the nondescript figures of the taxi rank, how easily they fall into the black mass, the dirt roads, the other. When I told you how they broke into my home and tied my mother out and laid her on the floor, what did I become to you? A weight, a sinking stone. I am distrusting you how easily you can go from one end of the world to another, far from the crowd, far from me. They have a place for no hybridity where I am from. They have positioned you in proximity to, but above us. And yes, I want more, but I am heaven, and I hope to hold. In my dreams I have my arms wrapped around a maple tree, and the dry earth has needles coarse around my ankles, and the sky does not shelter, and the sun, the unrelenting sun. In my dreams there appear false winds, but my grip is fastened, my arms are on the maple. It is autumn now. We are seated across from each other, in a bar, in moonlight. We have escaped the suffering of our kind. We have discussed some of the ways that we can remain here. You have a plan more considerable than mine, and I have a dream in solitude. I have arms that take.
Actually my initial idea how to transpose this poem into ceramics, or how to present it. It's a kind of a performative installation. Please. Thank you. It's a kind of a performative installation that is happening while the author is reading the poem. And as you noticed, I had dark liquid going through two vessels and covering all the cloths into black or dark gray. And the idea was to show that to understand the experience of a different person, you definitely need to spend some time noticing different things that is happening to the person, to know like better, or just to try to feel like what's going on. And we actually, that was the first stop for us in this journey, but then we decided to make a bigger exhibit that we did at Dartmouth at Black Family Art Center, and it didn't include this performative installation that I showed you, but it included like different work with text, with fonts, and with these ideas of colonization and how different nations like impose their rules to others. And I love that work very much as well, as I think that it is very important to both of us, and it's very existential. And also I'm really happy to have this possibility to spend as much time as I needed to create these works, because Sorov might say that one of the bases was standing unfired for months, and I didn't know like what I shall do with that. I didn't feel like the right thing, like either to cover it with engold or like change color or like glaze it or not. So like I just left it for months to sit sit and wait for my decision, and that was another like very kind support of this very institution with like full freedom to me to explore and to choose my way, and I really appreciate it. The second, or maybe if you have questions, I will be happy to answer, because I'm like right now we're going to start talking about the second project that I'm going to show you.
The poem, I would like to see the words, because it's a little difficult for me to hear
Right.
all the things, and it seemed like an amazing poem.
It is. This is the part of the concept actually, so thank you for noticing that. It's not easy to listen, especially in a noisy room, and I think that during the exhibition people had the chance to listen to the poem several times because it was looped, and like I noticed that some people just spent maybe 10 minutes, and the poem is like 3 minutes, so they just gave themselves the time to listen to it again and again. And yes, the idea was not to show the words, not to show the text, but only to listen and to decode, because like in the exhibit we had this very poem written in a very specific Z font. This is the font developed by a South African designer, graphical designer, and he imagined how would his native language, Zulu language, look like if it had chance to develop like naturally without colonization, because they are using English alphabet for Zulu language, and he created this font. Each letter of English alphabet corresponds to the Z font, but it looks like something that you really can't read. So you have to decode it, and we had a system how to decode it, and if you could like spend more time, you would be like able to decode it and to read it in English actually. But it took long time. It takes a long time. So that was the point, you know. Like if you want to understand something that is not really easy to explain with words, you need to, I don't know, to make additional effort. Yeah. Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Oh, can you talk a little bit about the form of the vessel and how you came upon that shape? Very bodily.
Yeah.
And just like a collapsed form.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot to mention about that. I was thinking about different, like about scars and different folds on our bodies, like for example with belly folds or like neck folds, or like when we with age we get these wrinkles and etc. So like our skin changes, and also it changes when like the person is going through some very complicated like life. So like we age much faster in these conditions, and I thought about ceramics as a very natural material, and the kind of it can correspond to the body, but also about this rhythm of creating the pot, specifically on a pottery wheel. This routine of doing things slowly, like coming every day and like working step by step, like creating a different like circle of work, was more about experiencing something like here. So like I was reflecting on my own experience while I was working on these shapes. And yes, these vases with folds, they are the folds are not really intentional, so they happen in the places where the clay, the wall becomes very thin, so like it just collapses. And that's how I made them. And but however, they still are functional and they work. So like, even though they have these imperfections and all the story, they're very charismatic. I would say they read them in very different ways. They tell the story and they function. So like again, it's kind of a complicated reflection on our lives. Yeah, and I'm going to present you a different project that I was working on in summer 2023. I won a grant from Dartmouth Hopkins Center and went to Mexico, Oaxaca, to work with the ceramic artist based in Oaxaca, and he is the professional in making hydraulic ceramic instruments. For me, it was just such an unexpected and very amazing possibility to work with this person, because I've been involved in one big project called Amadoka. This is a Transmedial translation of a Ukrainian novel into music. This is a huge concert with 3 parts. Each of the parts corresponds to the parts in the novel, and the novel is very complicated. It has 800 pages. So basically saying something again about translation. So of course it is impossible to translate 800 pages into something physically present, or into a different dimension to preserve all this information. But I worked with 3 composers, Ukrainian composers, who each of them took one of the lines of the novel, and the novel is about different time frames in Ukrainian history. So it's about the Stalinist repressions against intelligentsia, Ukrainian intelligentsia in the beginning of the 20th century. Another topic is Holocaust in Ukraine during the Second World War, and the third topic is Russian invasion that started in 2014. And in the novel, the author, Sofia Andruchovich, shows how actually history is linked and how it is impossible to overcome the traumas of the past and how we preserve them in our present. And even though we have new traumas, we still carry all this huge experience with us. And for me, at one point, it became very interesting to think about the name of the novel. Amadoka is the name of the lake. And according to the medieval maps, it was supposed to be the largest lake, the largest body of water in Europe. And it was located in Ukraine, specifically in my home region. And actually, after the medieval times, no other maps show this lake. So nobody can prove whether this lake exists or not. And it's more like a mythical thing, but also it is present on real maps. So this is a big metaphor about the loss of memory, deliberate erasure of the nation, and many more. And I was thinking about this metaphor of water all the time when I was working with the musicians and composers as a curator of the project. And when I was here, I decided to try to apply for this grant and to think about musical instruments that maybe can use water somehow. And then I found this artist in Mexico, and I won the grant, and I went to Oaxaca and collaborated with him. And he taught me how to make these musical instruments that you can see here tonight. And I will show you the video, how I actually tried them for the very first time in his broken swimming pool, which is a different metaphor to water again, and this myth of Lake Amadoka. And this is a pretty long video. I think it's around 10 minutes, so we can stop maybe after 5 minutes. So these are three musical instruments that I made with the artist, with the help of artist Vargas in Mexico. And actually, I have them, three of them, because as I already mentioned, so the novel Madoka is about 3 lines in Ukrainian history. The composers who translated this novel intersemiotically or made these transposition into music, there are 3 of them, and they also worked with 3 lines. And I was thinking about 3 musical instruments, each of them corresponding to one of the lines of the novel. And technically, it was very interesting to work not only with this type of the instrument that is interacting with water, when you can see the water, right? Like you can go to any body of water, to the river or lake, and just like play in it. That's how the indigenous Americans do, and this is a very original type of musical instrument that I think is only present here, like in several countries in South America and in Mexico. But also, like, this system is just amazing because you pour water inside and you just cover the hole, and water pushes air from inside, and you can make it very different sounds with it. And I really love to work with Loop Station for this video because I could record these tiny fragments of my own music and overlap them and then create a kind of an ensemble in the swimming pool. So it was really, really interesting. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you have any questions about that.
I've seen beautiful things in the museum in, it was in Ecuador, but I think they were from Peru. And they had, they didn't look like that because these are yours. They had vessels that looked like different kinds of birds, and you would move them, and they would make that bird song.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how these guys did it.
Yeah.
I was blown away by that.
Yeah, that's also what I've seen there in Mexico, and these are called whistling bottles. So basically, this is the same type of it, because inside I have 2, you can even see, like they're connected with the tunnel, like 2 bottles, right? And inside, they're connected with the tunnel. This is the same system as one of those you see. And this is a very tricky part, how to make them sound like a bird. And it is all about working with the whistle. So each of these musical instruments, they have whistles. Whistles make sound. And for example, for these, I created 6 whistles. They're all here, you can see them. And I tuned them while I was making them. I can even tell you that almost like 4 of them are E7, 1 of them is C7, which is very close. Yeah, and another one I don't see. Oh, E7 too. So like I made them trying to find the almost the exact sound, and somehow it happened that I found this E7 for 4 of them, right? And the idea was to work with this metaphor of the lost generation, cult intelligentsia, that were like the brightest minds of that generation, and they showed a very different perspective for Ukrainian culture, and they were gone. So like I was thinking about kind of showing that this is the same note, the same melody, but with many, many voices. And that's how I decided to make these several whistles in one, and they sound like, yeah, you can hear that it's pretty even. It's almost like one note.
So how did you make the whistle part?
The whistle part, it's pretty easy. You make a bowl, kind of a bowl with a hole in it, and then you make the tunnel, basically like a square piece of clay, and then you grab something sharp like a knife, and you just make the hole in this tunnel, like just like a knife, like this. Yeah, like push through, and then you attach the tunnel to the ball and try to figure out how to make sounds. We're just about trying. You just like try to find the right angle for the tunnel to be attached to the ball, and then you just gently attach it to the piece. You're very welcome to try them if you want, and I'm also ready for other questions if you want to ask us something, or you can just discuss it in a more informal way.
Do you have any music training in your background?
Actually, no. When I was a kid, I took some piano classes, but I was a very bad student. I can't read the notes.
Yeah.
Never could, but I have a pretty good hearing, so that's why I just memorized everything that I had to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
How are you going to bring this experience back to Ukraine?
Back to Ukraine. So I think that these musical instruments will be staying here for some time. I didn't mention this concert on Adobe that I was talking about. I brought this project to Dartmouth and we performed last year in April. And you can also watch this performance online with all these musical instruments, with local musicians who took part in this performance, just incredible. And after that, this project was invited to perform in New York in the framework of the Contemporary Ukrainian Music Festival. And this is the annual event, and we were planned to perform this year in March. But when we started to discuss the possibility of bringing people from Ukraine and bringing the author of the novel, we figured out that the novel is being translated into English. And that's why we right now decided to wait until they will publish the English translation for people to be able to have the book and read the novel and listen to the concert and like have this interaction with the author and the composer. So we did a very nice event. So right now we're just waiting for the published English version, and then we'll perform in New York. That's why these musical instruments will stay here until that moment. And maybe to wrap up, I would just like to read the quote by Walter Benjamin. This quote I used it in the beginning of my thesis presentation here at Dartmouth, because I think that everything that I do as a transmedial translator, and maybe also like any other artist too, is about communication through art. So communication in words is only a particular case of human language. And with that said, I would be happy to continue talking to you, and thank you very much for having me today. Thank you.